Testing, round one. Asynchronous mediation of image. Just what I'm looking at, or what I kind of like from those little tests or little works there, or experiments, is how you create an image of yourself, and then you end up acting out that image, so that neither of you are authentic versions of your, or at least your capacity of free will. And authentic is a very, very complicated and problematic word in a lot of sense. But I mean that only in the sense that it doesn't encompass the full range. Well, that's an interesting thing, though. It doesn't encompass the full range of activities or actions you may produce, yet it may expand the amount of actions you physically interact with. In the sense that, I think of people, like say, a lot of these Instagram stars or YouTube personalities or TV personalities. TV personalities is a good example because it's been around for a while. It doesn't have the, this veneer of newness and this opportunity for something which is a change or anything like that. Or, it hasn't yet been settled. But it's kind of like, would someone act the way they would? For instance, the classic example is something like, actually Bill O'Reilly, the top example, the Fox News commentator. But say someone on the news, you often see interviews where the reporter is using such aggressive or Q&A, you see this kind of stuff occasionally, or quite often actually, where it's like they use such aggressive language that they would never use outside of that context of that show. So they've created a persona detached from themselves, which they don't feel truly responsible for, in the sense that it's a product of its environment. So I doubt that most of these people that do these really, these kind of interviews where it's like, did you or did you not do this? Would you do this? And then they're just trying to get very specific answers and a very specific political agenda out of people. I doubt these people go home and kind of like fully feel responsible for that persona, or feel like that is their kind of like a persona that they use in their day-to-day life even. Like some people do, I'm sure, but you get the sense that it wouldn't work in a socially cohesive environment to act like that. It's outside of that very specific context, it doesn't really, it's not really relevant. Like if you're at a dinner party and you're just like heckling someone, well, you're not going to go very far. And I guess this kind of ends up talking about the way that kind of our own actions are mediated through things, and how through social structures and other things that we've created, and how we don't feel responsible for the actions performed within that space. I'd say a lot of the actions most people are performing in their day-to-day life, at least in a public sense, they don't feel fully responsible for, in a way. Like they feel like they're their culture is partly responsible for it. Without and once you submit to a larger kind of entity for authority, but people also don't truly believe that society is kind of like is the only force, you know. So it is this shared responsibility where neither party has full authority over the movement because it's an abstract movement. It's a learnt abstract thing which exists within an abstract model, and I think we find it difficult to have complete I guess, authority over an abstract thing. We use it, but perhaps humans find it always difficult to engage with a truly abstract concept, which isn't to say a concept which may sound abstract, but has a very physical reality, you know, certain philosophical problems or propositions. It may sound unintuitive, even, you know, at first glance, but they still work within the language of nature, of the world, of physical reality which we live in. What I'm talking about is a kind of a model which obviously has spawned from this physical reality. I'm not saying it's separate from, but it is flavoured with a certain type of intention, which a lot of the natural world, I would argue, isn't. There aren't as many. There's so many intentions in the natural world, but they're not as. They're cohesive in a different kind of way. I think that's the best way to put it. They're cohesive in a way that's been mediated by, instead of things trying to, actually, this is a long argument, this is a long conversation.